So, non-duality. It's impossible to remember what it is. And the mind isn't there, but so yeah, we go through life thinking that we are thought and we are this body. And it's one of those things that we never question. And it's a hard task to navigate life. So we think that change and we think that death is terrifying, and life is really hard. And suffering itself comes from the mind, and the mind itself has got a gravitational pull, so we're really sucked into thought. We don't have much focus or attention left for anything else. So that's our fate, we think, and we never dare to question the basic assumptions of life. So, and then maybe one day, if you don't know anything about this, it can be completely out of the blue, and suddenly you realise that there's nothing, and not just a real nothing. There's absolute emptiness. There's no chairs. There's no self. There's no other. There's absolute void. But everything is appearing in that. So the person is appearing, the floor, the chair. So it's the seeing of everything and nothing. And that can be an event in itself. And that event can just leave you kind of feeling anchorless, rudderless, and free in a way, but it's like a desert period. And because until love is seen, boundless love, then seeking continues. But this time without the drive, so there's no drive, there's just continuing to live. And if you're lucky, love is seen. And when love is seen, the intimacy in life is restored entirely. So there's no longer any division between the self here and everything else. There's just absolutely nothing appearing as dawn, appearing as the other in this wonderful dance of life. So this brings about peace. So it's the peace that's beyond understanding, because the mind cannot conceive of this at all. The mind, when it's seeking, is seeking for something it already knows, because it cannot get outside itself. There's nothing new that can really come in. So this can be a real shock to the system. So suddenly the mind falls away. There's that chattering, ongoing mind falls away, and there's complete and utter rest. And in that rest, the sacred is restored to life. So you start to see that in everything, that the stillness pervades everything, and that stillness is the sacred. It is, and even so perception, in a sense, is suddenly come into. So all the energy that was sucked into the mind is freed up. So there's just sitting, and using the senses is a funny thing, because even just looking is transformed, because to look is almost like it's almost drug-like. It's so absorbing. So it's not an empty seeing. It's nourishing, even just to look, to sit and look. There's the sense of peace is quite a juicy feeling, and so there's a honeymoon period after this where nothing else can be sought for. The thought of meaning or purpose or anything, any dreams, any hopes, all of that dissolves because everything is recognised to be just where you are. So there's just presence, there's just being where you are. So there's a natural desire to just sit and be, and everything is seen for the first time. So and in fact, so even looking at a sky can be like, you've never seen a sky before, you really haven't seen a tree, you haven't seen, the aliveness just transforms everything. So it's yeah, it's just a coming to rest. And so that's the seeing. And so how usually this happens in two events, and the first is the mind that's seen through. When that falls away as well, so there's no, you can just, some people the thoughts actually just slow down, and some it's just completely gone. And so after a time, they may be coming back into life, and with the ability to kind of self-actualize or do stuff that you were never able to do before, because a lot of the fear will have fallen away. The fear of death is gone, and the fear of living itself is gone. So there's just basically what's appearing. So you really, what you are, you're not actually anything. There's no new identity in this. It's just the timeless, and you're living in the timeless. And in the timeless, time appears. So there's still a character that lives its life and continues, but the sense of the body itself tends to go. So there's just a feeling of absolute weightlessness, of almost like air. So there's just the recognition. There's no one recognizing itself or oneness recognizing itself. So how we get ourselves into this mess, because we were born into oneness, we were born into wholeness, but we're seduced by our caretakers, by people in our lives, into identification with the image in the mirror for a start, and we start to, between 6 and 18 months, we start to recognize ourselves in the mirror, and mommy and daddy or whoever are going, this is you, da, 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 and reflecting back to you until this ego is formed, and a dark cloud of forgetting tends to come over that and obscure it, so that we are now in suffering. And so we're now absorbed in whatever is appearing, but it's already realized. So this is already wholeness. It is already, everything is already realized, except it is not recognized as such. And that recognition is an energetic shift. So it doesn't help to be told that there's nothing that needs to be done, that this is already whole, in a sense, because that can be frustrating. But it is, you already are perfection, you're already perfected. And part of the seeing as well is seeing that the total acceptance of the other, so that judgment falls away. So whoever you meet, there's just the love, because you're seeing the other as yourself, because you realize there is no inherent difference. So, although judgment can arise in that, in a relative sense, so that, I don't know what, problems can arise with this as well, because all that energy that was stored up in being a person is quite exhausting, because it's just thought, anxiety, and so suddenly this release, and the energy that was stored in that is suddenly released, and it can be very difficult to sleep, or it can be difficult even to, some people have difficulty focusing, and some people have difficulty with even understanding language or knowing what things are. So it depends on the awakening itself. So some people slide into this quite slowly, it seems like a process, and other people, it's a big bang sort of moment. In the story of time itself, although there's no way of making this happen, because there is no one who could possibly make it happen. In the story of time, there's often a lot of suffering, as if the mind itself just collapses. So there's a lot in the histories of people who do wake up. There's often grief or depression, and a giving up. Only the surrender is not a personal surrender, it's your surrender. So the surrender comes from without, and yeah, so there's just a dropping away, and so, and talking about this, yeah, so people start seeking their whole lives, or there's often unconscious seeking, and we try to find fulfillment in time. So we try to find fulfillment in acquiring status or finding love, and nothing takes away the sense of lack. Although falling in love has some similarity to this, in the sense that the division kind of falls away, so there's that acceptance of the other and just being with the other, but it's dependent on the other, so it's similar in a way. But of course, conflict comes in, and eventually the mind gets hold of it and starts arguing with what is, because that's what the mind does. It finds something beautiful and it creates problems. So after this, life is easier, life is simplified in a way, because drama in a way itself dissolves, because even when something dramatic is happening, it's just happening moment by moment by moment, so there's no, the fear, the excitement, all of that is gone. There's just this equilibrium in which everything is happening. But of course, suffering can appear, but it doesn't have a hook, so it can appear, but it doesn't stick around for very long. What else can I say? So yeah, some people can have glimpses of this as well, for a short time. There can be an opening, and that's very, very common now. So a lot of people experience that. So, and also athletes and artists and writers and stuff, they often experience a flow. So while they're working on their piece of art, or while they're running, or whatever it is, the sense of self is gone, and there's just running, or painting. But it doesn't change anything. As soon as that's done, it's back to identification. So, but this is what we have been seeking our whole lives, and it brings us to rest. So there is just what's appearing, and that is where we live, just in what is appearing, and the struggle of life is gone, and I don't know what else to say about this a minute. Yes. For most people, the skin feels like a boundary line between self and others. So there's someone in here looking out there, and that goes because there's no, the location, the sense of location just goes. There's no one here, there's no other self, there's just life happening, but life happening for no one. So it's quite hard to conceive of that because it's absolute, so absolute. So in my own experience, there was a story of a lot of suffering, and then the seeing of emptiness happened. I didn't know what that was because I didn't know non-duality. So I thought something bad had happened because I saw that thought was not me, and the body seemed to disappear. So I thought that was something bad. But I noticed that I felt a sense of equilibrium that hadn't been there before. And so I continued through life, and then one day I woke up one morning and I saw my boyfriend, and he was sitting in the kitchen, and I saw his eyes for the first time. I could see he had these blue eyes, and I thought, wow, what amazing eyes he's got. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw my child self, my face, the age had been taken out, so I just saw this, like literally looked like my 5-year-old self looking at me from the mirror. I didn't know what that meant, but I was quite pleased with that, and it was like, I asked my partner, who was an artist at the time, I said, do you notice anything about me? And he said, he's never seen me without the tension in my face. So that whole day, I was walking through bliss, which was so thick it felt like wading through it. And so I was just seeing, I was walking with my head up because it was summer and the sky was absolutely stunningly beautiful. And the bliss just seemed to continue and get deeper and deeper. And I had some interesting experiences along the way, but it was when we were in a restaurant at the end of the day where I was sat with him, and I suddenly saw that emptiness was just doing everything. Emptiness was the waitress, emptiness was the walls, the table, and there was just nothing and everything. And I looked out the window and there was a tree, and I just thought, wow, it's like the Garden of Eden. It was so beautiful. I'd never seen a tree before, and I didn't know how to eat because I'd never eaten before, so I didn't know how to chew my food, and I couldn't understand language because I was so far from language. I couldn't, and it seemed so insignificant because of the love that was there. And so it took a while before I found it very difficult to speak, and I certainly couldn't articulate it. But it took many years before I could really get to grips with what had happened. So it could take a while. And so that was a long time ago, 9 years now. So yeah, so that's my story. And trying to think of anything else. Anybody?
Did you want questions?
Yeah. Good. Yeah, have you got a question?
Thank you for sharing that. I know that sounds like a cliche, but I do mean it.
Great. Cheers.
Somebody else to share their journey is a rare thing, you know?
Yeah.
I know it's glory or not glory as it happens. There are several questions. You mentioned, I mean, you can weave into it, it doesn't have to be like answering a question, but you mentioned energy shift at one point. And I wondered, in the regaining of starting to at least do first self-life in terms of the birds and the bees and getting food on the table and things like that, how does that happen? And how much does it, the gravitational pull of that, take you off the journey?
It doesn't, because in a sense, even doing is just pure being. It's like you're still absorbed while you're doing stuff. Although during the honeymoon period there is a desire to just sit if you can, but if something needs to be done, it will be done. Like, I mean, it varies, but most people don't have a problem with, you know, doing stuff. I mean, it can create changes in relationships, and often people
So did you remain with the same person?
No.
When did it happen?
Well, for a while I did, but actually it was irritating to my partner at the time initially, because he said I was smiling all the time, so I made him think of a Scientologist, which wasn't a good thing. Yeah, because I think our relationship had been quite hedonistic as well. I couldn't. I don't know. I just wasn't interested anymore. So we actually split up after a couple of weeks, and then got back together for a short while, and then it was just. In some ways, it just had to go, because we were moving in different directions then. So, and all my friendships changed. A lot of those changed. And my relationship with my family changed in a good way, and so yeah, there's. Yeah, I did spend an inordinate amount of time just sitting. I was able to do that, and I was like hours could go by just sitting on my sofa looking out the window. It was like just no words of time going by, just the beauty of just looking out the window was just so astonishing. But by and large, people get on with things, and sometimes things seem to flow better as well afterwards. But it's true, it can be difficult for younger people, particularly because motivation can go, because all of that drive, it depends where the drive is coming from as well. So drive can disappear, and yeah, and some people do just leave their lives, and it's quite rare to do that, but most people just get on with life and continue. But
when you're talking about the void and nothingness and stuff, I mean, it could be my particular predilection, but it sounded really very lonely, because you think, who's like me? Am I ever going to meet somebody that's going to understand me and things like that?
I think because it's so overflowing, it's not like that, you know, and you know, and that sense of otherness is gone. So you just so I think later there is a desire to be around people who do get this, or who at least are interested in this. But it's the opposite of loneliness in a sense. Although, yeah, I mean, it's nice to connect, but it's because there's nothing to be sought from the other in a way, like there's just something about sitting with people or just being with someone, like the words don't, particularly in a honeymoon period where it's almost like so irrelevant what's said, it's just that being, you know, and I think that's where you start to relate from, because you're no longer looking for somebody to feed you with something, or you're just an open space for whatever is arising, and so yeah, the capacity to listen, and the capacity, yeah, it's just melting away of that division is just, you kind of merge with what you're with anyway, in a sense. So yeah, so later on there are sort of like, yeah, seeking out someone who gets this, or it is quite nice. It is, I think it's a relief to be able to express it with somebody. It's quite nice, but it's not, because there's nothing lacking anymore. You're not really looking for the other to create that. I think. Yeah.
I mean, how do you find things today in terms of the modern world, and you know, there's a mindset that goes with that we all are usually in. Are you sort of pulled into that mindset, and then you get home and you kind of get freed from it, come back to, you know, this more conductive, open state?
Depends what you mean by the mindset. What would you mean, like the awful horror?
Well, the duality mindset, call it that, as opposed to the non-duality mindset.
Well,
Does it, you know, are you pulled back to that old way of thinking quite often, or do you find you are relatively free of it?
yeah, kind of free of that. You're not really sucked into it, and in the same way. Yeah, it takes someone who's really going out of their way to trigger you, to get a rise out of you, or something like that even, because I think it's so, I think when this happens you get a real clarity of mind as well, so games fall away, and if you're deep, and it depends which scenarios you're thinking of, you can kind of really understand, you have more idea where people are coming from, and if you're being played, or acceptance of someone else's shit, basically, you know, so so you kind of, there's an immunity to a lot of things, though that's not to say it can't drop away, but as for, because you're so grounded in the moment as well, like, future stuff can come up, and it can be like, oh my god, you know, but it just doesn't hang around. I think real problems have more impact than the stuff in the head, because that, you know, like, so neurosis tends to drop away, a lot of that, but I mean, if you have a distorted view of reality, if you know, depending on the kind of dysfunctional kind of relationship you had, like originally with your parents or caretakers or whatever, you can be still on a repeat of those patterns without even knowing it. So I was doing that myself, in a total state of bliss, emptiness, no mind, and yet reliving patterns, and I had no idea I was doing that. So it's interesting as well, so some of the psychological stuff, that would be called spiritual bypass, was totally not seen, and then that was revealed to me with energetic experiences, which often come up around awakening as well. So visions and stuff like that. A lot of people have, not everybody talks about this stuff, but a lot of people have those kind of experiences as well, where you're just seeing some of it's reflecting back, it seems to me to be reflecting back psychological stuff, and some seems to be actually just, I have no idea what it is, but like, yeah, so, you know. But you're meaning something specific. Have you got a specific?
No, that's fine. I mean, or to take it another step further, when you look at the world and everything going on in it, I mean, what now kind of resonates with you as being of kind to this? I mean, like people like Eckhart Tolle, is it easy to be in that zone, or anything else that seems to be in touch with this?
Yeah, there's a lot of people speak about it out there, and yeah, I mean, don't really like to go into the names of people, but yeah, sure, for sure. I mean, initially it's really helpful to come across people who do, like Eckhart Tolle, coming across him because it seemed, yeah, the message kind of resonated with me. He had a lot of deep states and seeing sacred and everything as well, and so yeah, because I think initially a lot of people look for validation of this as well. Is this non-dual seeing? And then that drops away, and I think, and then after a while, you don't care about that so much, because the mind can go on doubting this incredibly. I think particularly if you've been like a kind of people pleaser person or something, you might think, because the associations with awakening are so, religion, spiritual people, it can seem to some people, I know some people hide this, and they still go to meetings, and they'll be sitting in the meeting pretending not to be awake, because they feel a bit embarrassed about it, or like, who am I to say, obviously there is no I, but there's still a sense of difficulty with owning this. A lot of people have that, and yeah, and of course, although most of the changes are positive, like more empathy, compassion, lovingness, and it can also happen to malignant narcissists and psychopaths, as far as I can see, who exploit this and get the followers and whatever, act that out as well. So there's that side of it as well. So which a lot of people find incompatible. How can you be awake and be like that? But there's no reason why not, because it's a character. It's about character then, and the character is left. I mean, the character can change in certain ways, but the character is pretty set. It depends what's there, what falls away. And with me, it was fear of intimacy fell away because I had that. But yeah, sort of rumination, But your actual character, if you're deeply pathological or whatever, it may not change, because trauma is, that's the thing, because trauma as well is stored in the body, so this doesn't always go that deep. Depends how deep it goes. So some problems can still arise for certain people, depending on the trauma type you have as well. So
yeah, I've got lots of questions.
I don't mind, the more the merrier. Like anybody.
Since you sort of been identifying in this sort of non-dual place, have you noticed sort of any sort of synchronicities or things aligning for you in the physical world? Yeah,
it's a funny one that, because there's also there's a lot of conditioning around non-duality, or it's almost like don't notice the synchronicities, they're not important or whatever, but yeah, I mean there's some extraordinary events seem to line up, or particularly around that. I mean, and maybe they seem more personally meaningful in a way, but yeah, and also it's very, I was dismissive of synchronicity, I was dismissive of even psychic events, which I don't think, you know, someone wakes up and they're like got this ongoing psychic ability, maybe somebody don't, I don't know, but definitely there were some, there have been some spontaneous speech to certain people that was spot on, which was a phenomenon because, yeah, like, for instance, I was in the supermarket one day and I was putting through my shopping and this just spontaneous speech came out and I said, have you had a near-death experience? And the guy was like, what? And he's like, I'm writing a book about that, and I just bought a book about it. So there's stuff like that, like I would never consciously talk to someone like that because that's kind of mad, right? But it was stuff that would just come out of my mouth, and it was never not spot on. It happened quite a few times, and then well, not quite a few, probably about 5 times. But yeah, synchronicity stuff like on the day of the awakening, and I stepped onto the tube train. I was going into central London with my partner, and instead of sitting with him, I went and I sat opposite this guy on the sort of bench chairs, and his head was moving in this perfect figure of 8. So he was obviously, I didn't know what Kundalini was, he was obviously having some energetic thing, and I could see the lucidity in his eyes. Absolute. He was just so there. He was definitely sane. And I just sat like that. And as soon as he went, I moved over to my partner eventually because I could see like he was just, he was going to get off at some point because it's kind of rude, isn't it? And, but I went and sat with him, and as soon as he went, I mean, the bliss that was there intensified, and suddenly I saw that everybody was awake, so I saw the Buddha nature of everyone on the tube, and then I looked around and I saw the veils. Hard to explain that, but it's called illumination, and I knew what that was, even though I didn't know what it was prior to that, but I could see it and know it, and that, so strange things, and I've heard other people say synchronicity stuff. So obviously you've been having synchronicity. Yeah, you have, right?
I'd say recently and it sort of happens, I'll think back to something and sort of think, oh, this is interesting, because it might be something I was thinking about, say, a few months ago or something, and then I had an experience, and then a couple of weeks later, that's when I realised, oh, so things are sort of, the way things are going in my life, I think I'm starting to notice some sort of alignment, but yeah.
It's just, it's sort of, you can't really, I mean, that's the thing about all the metaphysical stuff, all these, because there's no knowing anything anymore, so there's no saying this means this or this means, because you just don't know, but yeah, there's, strange things certainly do start to happen, and it can feel like I mean, Jung wrote about synchronicities and stuff. I don't think he made much of it in the sense of like, but yeah, there's something about it, they do tend to crop up when you get interested in it sometimes. So interesting. Yeah.
So, I often wonder why there's a focus on the distinction between a kind of illusory self and no self, because to me it seems kind of irrelevant. Just as if there may be a leaf on the ground or not a leaf on the ground, all that appears is just apparently happening. But there's, in non-duality, as per the name, there's a focus on an illusory self or no self.
Oh, the no self. Yeah, I think because in the talks people focus very much on get stuck on the emptiness thing, because in language it sounds interesting, I think it's like, in a way, but the experience of it, it's not, it doesn't seem relevant. I know that my first, the awakening to emptiness happened, because it happened when I didn't know what non-duality was. I can kind of look at it in a kind of innocent way, but it was clearly everybody experiences this slightly differently, but because the sense of weight had gone and the whole sense of any physicality, which is kind of seen and known. But yeah, if you don't care about that, if it's just seen as what's happening, then that's it, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I just find it strange. I don't know. Yeah, some people have that more than others, like the sense of location, and make a lot of, like I'm saying that because I find that really odd, but not everyone describes it that way. For me, the only juicy thing really is the love side of things. Because is that your experience and just what's happening?
I don't know how to.
All right, okay. You don't know how to talk about it then, or do you want to talk about it anyway? You don't want to put you on the spot.
So yeah, I guess this is interesting from the sense of and there are pointers to the illusory self, right? This message is obviously providing pointers to the illusory self, and that's quite interesting how that just seems to appear.
Yeah.
When it could just be a message of, say, life seemingly happening, or love, like you say, or emptiness. Does that make sense, or did you want to?
Well, yeah, I suppose so. If you were talking about this, then you would just describe it as this is just, everything's just happening, but for no one, or not for no one. Then or is that irrelevant to you? Do you see that as?
I get the feeling that you don't, but to me, it seems as though it could be irrelevant.
I've heard, you're not the only one I've heard say that, and so, but the identification is gone in your case? Or
No.
No, so, well, yeah, if it's irrelevant, it's irrelevant. I mean, I think you get to a point where you don't give a damn what people say, and you just kind of know whether this is what's spoken about or not, because people focus on different aspects, don't they? And yeah, the sense of location here is gone, the sense of, anyone saying these words, or any sense of embodiment seems to be totally vanished, which I just find peculiar. Well, not really, but it does feel like it could, it's like you could just walk off a cliff and sometimes, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
You can get that, or you did get that, or...
Well, I guess it seems like everything is, or could be singing its own song, so there's a sense of a body there, and that's singing the song in this fashion, and then something else might be doing its own thing.
Yeah. My mind's just gone blank.
No, I mean, I know what you mean about walking off a cliff, and it would be...
Yeah, and yeah, but there's that, and then there's this, it's interesting as well, because, it matters as well, like, that's what I find really strange too, like, it really matters, life still matters, like, to dawn, like, it does, and what happens, and, and yet there's this kind of indifference as well, like, so it's both, it's kind of both at the same time, and the same as, like, because the story as well, even the past, you know, there's something beautiful about that, so I'm very much sort of not into like, I mean, the past isn't accessed so much, so it's not, but it's very, very useful, and it's very, I think, because there's a coming to terms with your history as well, the story of your life suddenly seems very, very beautiful, like all the failure, all the mess. It's just this compassion for this character that didn't know what it was doing, and it wasn't actually in control anyway, and that's really profound, I think, because there's no judgment on it, but I think it's very precious as well. But also, if you ignore that, you ignore it at your peril too, because that's where a lot of problems come from, ignoring that stuff too. So, yeah, it's probably coming, maybe.
How did you recognise that non-duality is what you're experiencing?
Well, I suppose in the actual week before the sort of seeing of love, I actually went to some talk with somebody, and I ended up having coffee with this person, and again it was, so they were a non-duality speaker, and I was sat opposite them, and I did what I did with the guy in the tube, and I just went like that, and I had a I had what they call a heart opening, so I just felt like this huge weight, like suddenly lifted, like real physical weight just lifted like a gate off my chest, and just love pouring in. That was the beginning. I mean, it just kept going the whole week and got intensified. But so I knew what was kind of going on, but at that time. But there were doubts, and I wasn't. I think I was too far gone to really think in terms of, you know, what it really was, even though the scene of everything and nothing happened, which was physical as well, because it's because everything isn't there and is there, and then it's just known. So I pieced it together, kind of, but initially, I don't know, it took a while, but I recognised that as soon as I started reading about it, I did recognise, because some of the, you know, the mystical, all the kind of writings, the non-dual writings, kind of, that seemed clear. Suddenly, it went from being a kind of, the poetry of that was kind of lost, because poetry can't touch it in a way, so you're reading it. Before it used to sound really beautiful, all the kind of mystical sayings, which they still are, but not in the same way, because it's literal. It's actually literal, so there's just no self. I mean, it's just literal, and there's just everything appearing, nothing, and nothing being everything. And so, as much as I loved Rumi and all these guys, you know, once you kind of get it, it's like, you know, the words just don't touch it in a way. But I probably half answered your question. But yeah, doubts still arose. So, and then, but it was good to know, because I thought that people didn't have doubts, and then I realised that that's quite normal, and no, I couldn't get flying. Like doubts, like they rise, they don't rise anymore.
For somebody like me listening to all this, I'm wondering what part of myself screams that says, that's her reality, that's got nothing to do with reality. Or, I wouldn't want my life to be like that. Or I'm afraid of letting go of the certainty that I have. I'm wondering what it is, and if it even has a validity. in comparing one person's life to another person's life. I don't mean in comparison sense, but there's 6.5 billion of us on this planet trying to eke out a meaningful life. And there's 6.5 million directions you can go.
Yeah.
It's like a perennial question. Where's the right path?
Yeah, well, I suppose this is the end of the right path, or, or the end of all paths, but yeah, I can understand the fear in that, or, because yeah, it does take away, it doesn't take away, there is nothing to go towards after that. You're just left with what is, in a way, but it's beautiful, so it's not a loss, but it seems like a loss, and if you come close to it, it can seem very scary as well. But there's a lot of people waking up now. It does seem like a kind of epidemic, so it's like just a new level of consciousness, because it is quite mad that the mind is just crazy, and it's unsustainable, so that people just, I remember getting that sort of, there's a point at which I was just seeing people almost turned inside out, and seeing, it seemed like I could know everything about everyone. That was just before the awakening, just knowing all their thoughts of everyone, which wasn't just kind of obvious, and seeing the sleep and the pain of that, like people caught in a kind of hell. And it just seemed, you could see that, and the suffering in that. It's yeah, and the life is just here, it is a kind of stepping into sanity, like, because that stuff drives you crazy. It just drives you nuts. But it's frightening to the ego, and the ego doesn't go. It's just not identified with. It's still, still a thing. Desires everything. What you like, what you don't like. A little bit more fluid. Belief. Belief doesn't have the same hold, and so there's a lot of fear, or just, you say, not fear.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Who doesn't fear the unknown?
Yeah.
Who doesn't fear that they've been given a finite existence and they fuck it up?
It's awful. It's awful, and it is, how can it's amazing to think we get through this at all, because death, it's just, how are you meant to function in life when you've got this short span and then you die, and if it's all meaningless, if you don't have anything else to grip hold of, then it's...
And I wonder if it is meaningless because you have never put any meaning on it. How determining is what happens to the state of you after you transition? Again, how determining is it based on your own belief systems, or are we going to get a surprise anyway?
Well, you don't need meaning anyway. Meaning falls away. This is so full. Is that what you mean?
I've forgotten
I've forgotten it. Sorry.
Is there a meaning to life? Is that what you meant?
Oh, no. It's in the way of you become what you think about. So you are what you do. So is whatever consciousness I have that lasts when my physical body transitions, when I die.
Yeah.
How determining on where I find myself, where my consciousness then lodges. How determined is that by how I've lived my life? Yeah.
Oh, right. You think there's some sort of judgment in how you've lived? Like there will be, or there could be?
I didn't mention the word judgment.
Oh, right, okay.
If I was anything, I'd be looking at how the natural laws operate, because if you don't fit somewhere, you don't. It's as simple as that.
I'm not really sure what the question is. I'm not quite sure how to...
Does anybody else have difficulty with the question?
Is it something like
Sorry, I don't mean to...
Oh, no.
I just, I don't want to go into it for a third time.
Yeah,
It's not
sure.
It's not helping.
how your views on depth and finiteness affect your ways of thinking now?
Okay, you're halfway there. It's more like if I had a spirit. Now the spirit came from somewhere. It certainly doesn't remain here on this planet. And I guess my consciousness is somehow tied up with that. So how that spirit has evolved and grown during this life will determine where it returns to, or where it finds itself in the universe once I exit this planet.
Are you asking about an afterlife or something like that?
An afterlife, I mean, isn't life continual? So it's a before life, before life somewhere else.
If I get you right, I think I know what you're saying. Look, there's no definites, there's no knowing anything, and you could be right that this could be eternal. Like, there's no, the physical,
It's
like
it's an interim, right?
it could well be. There's no, I certainly from here I couldn't say that that's definitely the case because I don't know that, but it seems why wouldn't it be? Because soul, psyche, or whatever. Yes, it could well be like that. But that's outside of the known for me. But I find it interesting. I'm very interested in that but that's a different field as well. Like, a lot of people who have near-death experiences certainly would say we have come from somewhere that life continues or whatever. So yeah, there could, we don't know what's beyond this, and we really don't. So this is just the falling away from the self. Like, okay, so there's no self, whatever. But that doesn't mean to say that experience doesn't continue. What is thought what does thought need a body for? What is, and if, we dream every night, and who's seeing that? There's another life taking place there, right? So, and we can have experiences beyond that. So maybe there's other stuff going on, but that's, it's not my experience, but I can say I'm interested in it, and it could be,
Could be an age thing.
maybe. But it is fascinating. It is fascinating, and some people have certainty about that when they've had, death experiences and stuff, near death. But this is just, it's just about just that identification, because it's not dependent on being any identity with anything, because that just goes, and that's whatever this is. It's not a little me and the rest of the world. It's just not. It's just
In the sort of spiritual community, there's ideas like we're about to go through a great change. The human race will evolve. The planet will go through an ascension. And it all seems to suggest that there will be this expansion of consciousness, which, the reason why I'm here, I think you're talking about you as one example of somebody going through that doorway into a different, more advanced state of consciousness. So I just wonder if that resonates with you, or a question inside of it is, somebody might say, oh, what's happened to you is a mistake, you're an aberration.
Yeah, sure.
But another view that I think is you've actually gone into a greater reality. You tuned into reality in a better way, even though it doesn't seem to work in the modern world.
Yeah.
hard to employ you in your current state in an office.
Yeah. Or ever, actually. Yeah.
So I just wonder, did you get any sense, for want of a way of asking it, of the hope of this?
We want hope.
Yeah.
Does it sort of suggest that in its early stages now, what it's proposing as it develops and hopefully becomes more common? Or maybe there's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, hope is one thing that kind of goes in a way, because there is this radical acceptance in a way, there's no desire to change anyone or you know, unless that's your nature, unless it's your nature to kind of do stuff like that, it's you know, so you don't, there's no sense of like wanting to show you, well, here I am sitting talking about it, but wanting someone to get this or believe something that it's totally gone. It's like, you know, people are where they are and that's absolutely fine, but as for what was sure, of course, if it seems like people are waking up and that's really common now, so yeah, I mean, of course that's going to be good, but it's not, I think there are other aspects as well, like there are certain, it's not everything, but it would certainly change, but it's, yeah, it doesn't fit with the values in society, it doesn't, for sure it doesn't. But I mean, the ego's recent, I don't know how recent, but it, you know, this whole repetitive thought thing, it seems to have got out of hand anyway, so it seemed like it's just now breaking down that, you know, and yes, but like, yeah, this state is more real than the state before this, you know, it's really hard to believe that I ever thought I was, you know, a person. That seems like, it's just the way I suppose, like a dream seems so small. When you wake up, it seems like a lesser reality to the constricted person, and this seems more real again. And so, yeah, in a sense, of course, it's, if people aren't so entrenched in their beliefs, of course that's got to be a good thing. But again, you know, there's something about also being in touch with your emotions and finding your authentic self too, which is slightly different, which is, if you have that and are awake, you're a much safer person, because you know, there's a lot of people open up and they stay at a certain psychological level of functioning too, so yeah, so that's the therapist in me, I could really go into that, like, but yeah, I mean, what are you looking quizzical?
So that.
You know, just you've got a quizzical look on your face.
Right. Yeah, I've got another one.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, you see, I feel this is early days, you know. If there is a different kind of flowering of the human race, that we're about to enter that time to see a kind of different non-duality, because duality is like we're constantly fighting, you know, conservative versus Labour, Americans versus the Russians. I mean, it seems to be entrenched in the way we go on, and you feel that somehow if you can, you know, there's a greater reality for our minds to access, and somehow this conflict thing all the time, and it just seems to reduce. But it's early, it's, in a way, for a world, you know, obviously there's been individuals in the past, but hopefully we're talking about a worldwide trend in the human race beginning to occur. And maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but I think there has to be, or there needs to be, we've got to grow the relationship to whatever is, for example, occurring with you, and then how we deal with the world around us. We've got to find the new ways of dealing with the world around us.
Well, that's, I mean, that's, yeah, well, that's, I mean, that's not Well, maybe part of the healing is not even, in a way, caring so much about that, because the energy isn't looking for solutions in a way, because there is just a greater, the energy is just here. So, you know, that's where the rest is found. It's not found in the solving of things, unless that's your personality. If you're a political person, you know, a really political animal, that might stay, in which case, you know, but generally, you know, the peace and the health I see is just coming away from even the solutions or the problems, and just being, just all that falling aside and just being where you are, because you're more peaceful in yourself, and you're not, at least, you know, you're not adding to stuff most of the time. But yeah, because there's, yeah, because I mean, even the agenda to do that sort of, you know, is belief, and it's. But I get what you're saying. Yes, I get what you're saying. It's a different topic or whatever. But it's, yeah, maybe that'll be. I mean, Eckhart Tolle goes into that. So, but yeah, but for me, it's. Maybe I'm not a political person. You know, I'm not a political animal. For me, it's just. The war with the self is gone, so the war with the other is kind of gone, and everyone you meet, no matter who they are, even if you dislike them on some, you know, on a kind of personal level, they're kind of accepted. You know that no one's chosen that. No one's chosen to be an asshole. Like, you know, they are, like, and in a way there's compassion for that too, because, you know, you can also see your own identifications over the years and how you've been, and gosh, I've been some states, but yeah, so there's that, so that animosity, or thinking I have the right way to solve things as well goes, or like, you know, not, there's not that kind of, yeah, I mean, it's just more simple than that, you know. It's just the beauty in, like, meeting everyone and seeing that you know, that they are the same as you. You know, it's just one thing. This is just oneness. And
can I just add something from what
yeah, sure.
said? Like, from listening to your question, and from my opinion, from my views, it sounds like as soon as you put labels on US Americans, Russians, conservative, Labour, as soon as you put those labels on, you're sort of describing duality, in a sense. So, in a way, as soon as you mention those things, you're stepping away from non-duality. So is it not, if you're asking or talking about those things in the actual 3D world, the human world, it's not possible to then come back to non-duality in a sense, because you're talking about separation. I don't know, that's how I sort of saw that question.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, okay, so everything's arising in oneness, and including that as well, and you know, it's valid, but yeah, okay, it's not the whole, because this is just a description of non-duality, so I get where you're coming from as well, but it's, yeah, but yeah.
It's how much the world is at the moment.
Yeah, I know everybody wants to get into that, but it's, yeah, this, for me, it's just a simplification in the end of agendas, and because when you meet the other as well, you're just meeting them without that sort of, without wanting to make them better, without wanting to change them in any way. So a lot of that stuff, unless you're political, like I say, a lot of that stuff falls away. And if it is dealt with, it will be dealt with in a different way, I suppose, because most of the energy is just up, because it is mind-based, that stuff, and it is belief-based. But it does have a reality, because it's all appearing in oneness, it's all, but yeah, the message in non-duality is quite simple really, because just, there is no one, Just
Is it like a sense of peace with yourself?
yeah,
Not
it's
being judgmental?
judgment can arise, but within love. So, you know, so there's a radical acceptance, and within that there can be judgments arising, but they don't obscure the love, you know. So even if you're telling someone, you know, piss off, please, there's love in that, and there's acceptance. So everything's accepted. There's no fight. The fight with reality is gone. That's where the peace. But the peace is just the sinking into rest, because that's what's here. Because torture is mind based in a sense as well. It's the psychological self. So when that dies, and the sense of the physical dies, it's all your energy is just released, and this becomes alive, and it is just love. That's your very being, the very essence of you is love. And so I can't remember what I was talking about. Yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
You said there is no one, and then before you said that this is still important, this message, or life is important. Is that, sorry?
Oh, go on.
No, are you referring to for the character, or just in general?
It kind of, well, not really, not ultimately important. Nothing is important. In a moment, something can be important, but it isn't, you know. So there's not, you know, there's, because all the energy is kind of here, there's not, yeah, there's ultimately nothing important, but there's, because that's just, there is just this, so, yeah. I'm just saying that arises for certain people, but after awakening, it's seen that ultimately it's not. Like death, even death, it loses its sting. It's not. The fear of death seems to go on this. So how can anything be important if that isn't? In a way, because in a sense, there's nothing to die. You know. Even though this is full or this is richer, but there's nothing to grasp hold of any of this. There's no experience, doesn't feed you in the same way, so there's no so it's just, yeah, everything is just assimilated and it's just bin. It's just constant death anyway. Everything is, you just die to your experience, I guess. So yeah, and you're not this, so importance is relative anyway, so it's, which, that's, you know, certain things can happen and go, oh my god, you know, like, obviously, but, yeah, in the moment anything can appear, but there's nothing, it doesn't, it just doesn't have the same hold as it did before, so nothing matters on one level at all. And yet, you know, in the moment things can arise that do seem to matter. But there's also that whole thing of like wanting things to go a certain way. There's a letting go of that because this is fulfilling enough. So that's why there's a kind of innocence to relating as well, and so it doesn't really matter so much. I guess it's that whole thing of you know, the journey more than, you know, it doesn't really matter what's going. Everything is fulfilling every moment. It's full. you know, you're alive right now, now. So there's, which isn't to say you can't have desires for the future, and because you can, but they tend to come from a healthier place, and there's not so much writing on that as well.
Inside where you're saying, you often use the phrase, and we're all using the phrase, nothing seems to matter in the same way, or it doesn't seem to matter.
Well, there's no one to whom it could matter as well, like, because there is no one. It's you're not separate from life, so there's no one who it could matter to, in a sense. You know, that it's all perfected anyway. Like everything that's happening is kind of perfect in the moment anyway.
So it's almost like by allowing the universe to orchestrate the moment, rather than thinking, I've got to come up with something that's saying will do here, which is the old thinking.
Yeah, that's the mind's just saying, you know, it's got to be this way, or arguing with everything, you know, because it's never satisfied for long. So it's because this is beyond that, and you know, it couldn't be other than it is. It's what's happening, and if you're totally in what's happening, there's nowhere else for you to be anyway. So yeah, there's no agenda in this. My answering.
So just try to explore this idea. I mean, so at what point might you say, I need to move from here because things aren't okay, or you know, there must be times when you feel like it's all unfolding, nothing matters, it's all happening. But there must be times when you say, no, I need to sort of step away from this or act differently, because that inner compass is realising that what's occurring is not good energy.
Well, that will just happen, or it won't happen, and the energy will just arise, and you'll find yourself getting out of the way of something, maybe, or not. So, because no one's in control of that either. So, if something's bad, if you can extricate yourself, change the situation, you will, you know. But it's not done by thought, you know. It's just, that's just happening in the moment. So
this is the quirky question. I mean, so when you burn, you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
It really hurts. I mean, is there a way of being when something, you know, really hurts?
Yeah, being is just you just take your hand away from the fire if you can. Yeah, it's just yeah. But that just happens without. You don't need someone there for that to happen. You don't. You know, things are happening all by themselves anyway. There's no one in here doing any of that. It's just doing. Yeah, it's just happening. If something's uncomfortable, you'll probably move away from it, depending on what your psychological makeup is. Yeah. So the past can still appear, but it doesn't have the same, you know, when you're with somebody, you're with them, when they go. So there's no holding on to any experience, so there's just a letting go of what's happening or what's happened. So when you're with somebody, you're with them much more, so there's much more in the moment, and then when they leave, they tend to disappear in a sense. So it's a different kind of energetic experience as well, so which changes your kind of relating as well. So
You know, this kind of awakening, if I want to be a doctor, I trained for 7 years. If I want to be Christian or Catholic, I pay my dues and go to church and blah, 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 blah. To escape the non-duality.
Spirituality.
That too. You know, do you have to get a bang in the head, or can you go to class?
Yeah, there's nothing. There is nothing you can do about that at all. Because the thing is, it's already complete anyway. But yes, there's an energy. You know, it's unrealized until it's realized. Whatever creates that, you know, it's seen that this is already the case anyway. So it's so there's no one who can, you know, create that or see that. It's just seen or it's not seen. But so I mean, yeah. You go to retreats and, you know, maybe you'll get a momentary, you know, you might drop into a sort of, in a meeting like this, maybe drop into no self like while you're here, and then, but it's not the same as a shift. You can't. There's no way of making that happen. Yeah, everything else happens in time. So this, yeah, it either happens or it doesn't happen. Yeah, you can have psychedelic, you know, take psychedelics and, you know, you have a trip, an LSD trip or something, and get a glimpse of this, but then, you know, it's not going to stay, or it doesn't change you. It doesn't. But yeah, that's quite common. Glimpses is quite common. Which, yeah, it's frustrating. It is frustrating. So yeah, meditation. Meditate. You can access states that give you a flavour of, or you know, the momentary flavour of this, but it won't give you the shift. You know, it doesn't. It's not. It's, you know, everything's already perfected in a way. Everything's already realised. So we are wasting it.
Do you get any sense as to why it happened to you?
No, not at all. No, but like I said, like a lot of people's histories, there's a lot of suffering. That's a common story, but it's not to do with that. So no, and it's very. What hit me when it did happen was how it's not kind of shocking in a way, because it's such a fundamental shift that the whole identity drops away, that it's actually very normal. It's like stepping to sanity. It's not like anything. I suppose if you have a vision or something like that, it's like, wow, I had a vision. You know, but it's not like that. It's more. It's just. I don't know. It's just. Oh, you know. It's overflowing and amazing as well, but in a very different way, in a very grounded way that's not very difficult to describe, because it's ordinary and extraordinary. It is both, but it's like, it's also impossible to remember how it was before, like in a way. It's like it's always been like that, like it feels like it's always been that way, and somehow. But, you know, so, yes.
It's like a coming home.
Like coming home and everywhere, everything is home. Yeah, that's the in-loveness as well, because the in-loveness is with everything, with a cup of tea, with a wall, there's just that sense of home. Yeah, because that wasn't there, like you're in a strange place or something, like everywhere is just, yeah, just love. It's just everywhere, and at home it's just everywhere. And yeah, so it is, in a way, that's, yeah, it is coming home. It's, but yeah, it's impossible to conceive of, because it's beyond the mind, which is such a, so frustrating, in a way. And that's why there's no specialness as well, I think, because there's no knowledge from this. It's beyond knowledge. It's often described as unknowing. So it's just peace. It's just love. It's not something that adds something to you. It's the absence of, in a sense, it's kind of the absence of identifying with this. Oh yeah.
What made you decide to want to tell people about this?
Because I find it fascinating, and I can't, in a way, because there's a kind of stuckness with it, like, I wanted to be able to speak about it as well, because it's not a given. When you wake up to this, you may not be able to talk about it at all, and then maybe the doubts arise from that as well, because it's like, how come these guys can talk about it? And it seems, but it's funny because it doesn't lend itself to language, and maybe, you know, there may be some bits you go, oh, I haven't experienced that, and then one day, oh, that's what that is, or, you know, so it's things in it. So there's something about being able to articulate it as well that really, you can really start to embody it, even though there's no sense of location here or no sense of embodiment. There's, you know, so there's a desire to talk about it, to see if I could talk about it, to be honest, and also it's, I don't know, just desire to speak about this, and, you know, because it's an interesting thing in a way, like, because it's as well, because there's no way you can really plan to talk about this too, because it's ineffable, so it's just kind of interesting to see what comes out of your mouth. Well, interesting, yeah. So yeah, it's just this desire I shouldn't have any desires. That's another, yeah, an energy moved me to talk. Yeah, it's just wanting to talk about this and share it, and, you know, the message. Because
So we finished.
yeah,
Who are you sharing it with?
I'm sharing it with no one, but very lovely bunch of no ones. No one's sharing it with no one. This is, yeah. 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 But in a way it is mysterious, I don't know, because my character is so shy, like so shy. This is just like crazy. I'm just sitting here, this is mad. Should have run out, like, but I haven't run out, so it's just, yeah, so yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of conditioning around this, and things like, you know, when you wake up, there's the ego of, I don't know, like anger or sadness or anything can arise in this as well. So you know, some people will lose somebody in their life and experience a lot of grief, and some people won't. You know, that can be disconcerting as well. You know, so it depends, but things just are more short-lived, like, because our mind's not operating, feelings tend to go through quite quickly. But yeah, loss can be felt. Sorry, and if you want.
Remember the occasion.
Or not. You can go ahead, I don't mind, very flattered.
Not always perfect.
So, in your sort of day-to-day life now, how do you sort of find navigating through not knowing that not everyone sort of lives through that sort of non-duality or identifies as that awareness, that consciousness, how do you find yourself sort of integrating in life with other people, and you find it hard?
Sometimes there's certain things sometimes I can, like, people often assume things like that, oh, you know, you're experiencing this, you know, things become so simple for you mentally, like, you know, just seeing the situation as it is, and sometimes people don't get that my reactions aren't what they expect. So that can be quite frustrating sometimes. Sometimes I'll just take the easy way out and go, yeah, whatever. Like, but mostly it's just positive. But yeah, because there could be, you know, and not everybody I know is into this as well. So, or yeah, so, but mostly it's just easier, like say, because there's more space and things just run more smoothly. Yeah. But yeah, you can, you know, like, because sometimes, you know, it can be difficult sometimes if I'm in altered states. Like, I've met up with friends and I've been in a really kind of deep samadhi state and trying to act normal in that, and it's like, you know, the danger as well, like, people thinking maybe you're dissociated, there's something up, you know, like, so that's where if you do get a therapist or something, it's quite good if they are awake as well, or else if they know about this, they don't necessarily have to be open to this, at least, because it can be seen as so pathological, the reactions and so on. So,
So as you said, your character or personality is quite shy. Did you say that?
yeah.
As you're sitting there now, or giving this talk, how are you yourself dealing with those sort of emotions that are arising, or sort of if the mind sort of bringing up any thoughts about the situation?
Not now, there was initially, it was like, oh my god, I want to go home. But after, not now, no, it's like, I suppose there's not thought or emotion. I think my body's probably quite tense in some ways, but yeah, there's nothing in my head. It's just, yeah. Just the inherent laziness. I'm just wanting to sit here. But yeah, now you've got me thinking, yeah, yeah. Because because think with it, like I said, like, yeah, initially there was fear, and then now there's just this sort of slight drunkenness feeling. But there's a lot of periods where there's just no emotion, like or a kind of neutral kind of, a kind of just okayness, just not constantly in. You know, more kind of emotional neutrality. So, which is nice. And I have some memory of being in fear and anxiety 24/7, just going right. So, but yeah, you're another good thing about it as well is your projections, and this disappears, so the projection onto the one at the front of the room, you know, like, as being special. I really go, it's so funny that, because it can be a massive projection, and then it's just like, oh my god, you know, they're just ordinary, like, that's quite shocking. yeah, and so all authority, but there seems to be a process of that as well. It seems to go on with sort of authority, but as you come into your own authority, it just crumbles. It just, so there's no one to kind of go to in a way for answers for anything. In a way, like you read something or explore it, but if it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate, or you just, it's very, very empowering that. But I think for me that's come from finding my authentic self as well, like getting really in touch with emotions after awakening as well. So there's this, because that's, otherwise people can end up just staying as if you're a kind of people pleaser, or you can get stuck in that and stuck in a kind of, because when this opens you up as well, you're quite vulnerable in a way, because you're just, particularly me when I was just walking around smiling at everybody, I think I really thought I fancied them or something. Actually, a lot of people smile. It's like they sense the energy, and it's a weird one as well. Because I remember just sitting on a bench, and some guys come over, and I've been the woman I've been looking for all my whole life, and all this kind of. It's weird the way some people seem to respond to it at that time, to see it or to react on it. I think it's like the energy around awakening is so strong. Like it's not wonder like where other energetic experiences happen as well. It's very old time. Like you can see people come over, and I remember someone just coming over and just nodding and walking. Okay, that's just weird. Like so.
Do you ever wonder what you're doing tonight? Is it of benefit? That's probably that's an idea. I'm coming out of the duality. Oh, this must be a benefit or not a benefit. And I do get the gist of what you're saying, but somehow it's at a different level.
Well, it's just a description. I mean, that's the thing. If you can't, it'd be so nice to have a method, because then there'd be something to give you guys, and then there would be that. There isn't. There's nothing. So it is just talking about it, really. So there, in a way, you can't. There is no, giving anybody anything. So.
But you've got the Mujis of the world, with
Oh yeah.
clinics and beautiful places in Spain and thousands of followers, and so that evidently people sense there may be some way, even if it's just proximity with somebody who can help.
Yeah, but I think if you're seeking though, but even if somebody's saying there's nothing you can do, and just by virtue of being up here, you're stuck on it. It's really annoying, because that sort of expression that you head in the tiger's mouth, it really is when non-duality gets you, nothing matters. Like nothing comes. You're just hooked on that, and in a way, like that's, it seems like. It seems a shame in a way, like it's like, just do something else, forget about it, like there's nothing you can do, just forget about it. But a lot of people find the message relaxing as well, like they do, just hearing this, it's like, so it's not, you're not this person doomed to die and make choices that could go wrong and it'd be horrible forever, and that going is massive. But the possibility of that, and the fact that it happens so regularly now, and and sometimes the message as well itself, I think I mentioned, there's a lot of people just open up in the meetings, or you just experience themselves, at least while they're there, or because it just seems to happen quite a lot. Maybe because there is no agenda here, because there is nothing you can do in a way. There's something about the non-dual that seems to like that as well, because there's nothing you can do. All you can do is kind of sink into where you are in a way. There's something sometimes that maybe lets go a little bit in that.
Is there different opinions on what non-duality is, or is it a specific way?
Well,
Does it depend on your own experience?
no, I mean, I think, well, non-duality is just really philosophy in themselves. So, like, there's that, and but then people will describe it slightly differently. Like, there's the ones that say there's a way to this, or then the ones that claim that there's a specialness to this, or that they know what, you know, like the guru type who knows what's best for you, or where you're at, or where your blocks are, and all this, your karmic, you know, or chakric blocks and stuff like that. But maybe they do, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they do. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, it's like, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, but then yeah, some people, you know, the sort of radical non-duality is just describing it, and then some people, yeah, it's just more method. You know. Does that answer your question?
Typical thought, but you might be pioneering the new human future. Now, that's not why I'm thinking about it is because it's trying to find the right way of doing that. And in the duality world, it's, I've got to sort this. I haven't got enough money, it's down to me to sort it. But in the non-duality world, it's saying, well, just allow things to find a way through.
Well, you still have to sort stuff. Yeah.
Well, this is, and then I'm wondering though, but there's a kind of, it's not like you just disappear from the scene. It's somehow the role of the human being is far gentler than the duality world of nothing's going to happen unless I finally make it happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, the character continues. There's no one doing the character, and yeah, of course, things need to be done and stuff. But yeah, there's more. But it's yeah, it's just it's more of a flow to that. It's more because you're not holding it all at the same time, or like it's just more organically approached or whatever. So it's not the suffering's not in that, if you know what I mean. But things need to be done and will be done, or not. But pioneering, I think that's that territory. Some people are into that as well. There's a lot of that about it as well. But, you know, Eckhart Tolle, which is just, yeah.
I think what's interesting is what a person won't radiate into the human race. So, you know, if you wonder how are things going to change, and in a way they change energetically first by how people are. And then when there's enough of a network of that, then it's a platform for a whole new way. Because we don't have to go ahead with how things are today. The world isn't governed on being able to fly from one country to another without.
Yeah, so as long as the awakened narcissists don't get in control, which they probably will. Yeah, I mean that's where the psychological work is getting in the way, because you need to get rid of all your ideals, and that entails looking at your history as well. That's without the kind of saving your parents or your caretakers, and, you know, like actually confronting their history.
You mean in the shadow?
Well, in the shadow, well, it's actually just directly owning your own hurts, because a child only experiences the emotions that it's been allowed to. You know, in your family of origin, it's probably likely a lot of you won't have been allowed to experience to show anger or show different emotions. So you only really have strong boundaries when you really get in touch with what you feel. So Non-duality can't do that. That's that you've got to start to really tune into that, and then you realise that, you know, it's the boundary, when the boundary is strong, because if you're awake and dormant, your boundaries might be weak, and you might be attracted to like psychopathic or kind of types without even realising it. You might still have that pattern because you were abused, or because, you know, like morality can be used to mask so much darkness in a way. The only way to combat that is to really know for yourself through your own emotions, and that means really get in touch with them to know the difference between what you think is right and wrong. And so I'm not seeing that. I don't see that with people. I know from my own experience that it wasn't until 3 years ago when I started getting visions and stuff where I realised that. I realised that I needed to know there was a distortion on my own patterns. It was still operating, not now, like, but it would hopefully. You know, so there's other stuff as well, but once you're, you know, that anyone can do, that's where I think, you know, like, you don't have to be awake to be authentic or to make a difference or to be strong or to know your mind. I mean, you don't. I mean, it can help in some ways if you're awake, because you can shift stuff quicker, I think, but not necessarily if some people are really clear thinking who you aren't, and I think I would trust them more than a lot of awakened people. There's that as well, so I think it's a step forward, because yes, if you're more loving, you bring up a child who's more loving, with more love, and then the child doesn't have wounds that make it act out in a hurtful way in the world. So, you know, if that happens, then, you know, things will change, but yeah, we're pretty lousy, like in some ways, like we just react to what's done to us, and that's so.
I believe there's probably about 85% of our behaviour covered by the unconscious, or resulting out of it.
Yeah.
I know it's a statistic you can't back up, but it is a lot.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, it's just unfortunate a lot of us have, yeah, this makes you a lot more conscious, because you know what you're, you know, like because you're so aware of what's going on around you and internally as well, but then if you're not in touch with certain emotions because you never were, that's not necessarily going to manifest. But yeah, so this is an increase in consciousness, but yeah, there's still acting out, which is, you know, you can still be acting stuff out. The consciousness increases and increases and increases. I think there's something almost energetically that comes up to make you face that in a way, like after this, because maybe just because there's peace and emptiness, that the psychological stuff, or else maybe just life will throw something up at you, and maybe before awakening you weren't functioning in a certain way very well, and now you're coasting for a while, and you have the things you haven't dealt with come up and hit you in the face, and you're like, ooh, you haven't got the skills, you know, there's a lot of stuff you need to learn as well, like, it doesn't give you the strength for everything. It might for some people, but, yeah. But,
Is that just a story?
yeah, it's a story, but the story is appearing in the timeless, so it's a story, but it's a, you know, time exists in the timeless as well, so, and if you ignore it to peril. Well, I would say that because a life that does not reflect is impoverished, at least. But when you're in the honeymoon period of awakening, you won't be reflecting on anything because you won't give a damn. But like it's just, you know, and you may never, but, you know, I find all this stuff interesting, so I do think about lots of stuff, and there's more room for creative thought. So yeah, so I enjoy thinking when I am thinking, and I enjoy not thinking when I'm not.
This might sound like a leading question, but it's not.
No.
Do you think there's an unseen world that exists?
Probably. Wait. Sure. Do you want to say what you mean by that?
Well, you know, people talk about guardian angels, or they talk about, you know, there's intelligence outside of us that will try and guide life or influence it or give you answers. It's like when the great philosophers were thinking, something kind of gives them the answers. Yeah, in whatever way that, it's just a notion that, you know, it's not just human beings and the material world. It's human beings and stratas of existence we have no idea about. And whether in your experiences, I didn't want to say, oh, just in the experiences you've been through, has that suggested itself or not?
I think an honest answer is yes, it's suggested. I mean, I can't know for certain, but if I was to make a guess, I would say that yes, there's more going on, a lot more, and that's all possible. That is absolutely, because some of the I mean, if I think I'd be very dismissive of that a few years ago, but some of the experiences I've had is of different realities. They are just as real as this. So I think anything is possible in that. Yeah, for sure.
We talked earlier about synchronicities.
Uh-huh.
So I suppose another way would be saying, was it any unusual phenomenon that's accompanied your awakening?
Well, just really kind of what I said, just the sort of you know, like illuminations of seeing that everybody's Buddha nature and seeing the veils and whatever, the different experience. Yeah.
That's interesting because you were obviously brought up in Ireland.
Yeah.
So you would have had more of a, even without knowing it, a Catholic platform, wouldn't you? And yet you say you see Buddhas rather than Christs.
Yeah, it's funny. I suppose, yeah, it's interesting. Some people see Christ and Buddha or whatever, or different. Yeah, it's not necessarily intuitive. It's the same with, you know, near-death experience and stuff. Yeah, you can. Yeah. I don't know why, because I don't have a history of, you know, I was never a Buddhist or anything like that either, and yeah, sure, it would be more.
That's the kind of entity that accompanies this kind of work. When
I don't
he's
know.
talking about unseen worlds, I think that's perhaps part of what might be religious. That.
But there's nothing really that accompanies it. For most, I don't know, for a lot of people, there's just the seeing of emptiness and seeing of nothing and everything. So, you know, for a lot of people, maybe energetic stuff around that. Not everybody talks about that because they, you know, this is a description of the non-dual, but yeah. So I don't know about people seeing. Yes, I've heard stories of people seeing the Christ or whatever when they wake up and stuff like, or whatever, which is easily be a projection of mind, or real, or who knows? You know, like that's a wonderful thing about it. Like there's no knowing what any of that. But I do find it interesting. It's coming up to 9 o'clock. We've got all so
Does the switch turn off at 9?
mine has. It's my first thought.
It's 9 o'clock.
Oh my God. It is, yeah. Really happy now because it's 9 o'clock.
We feel ourselves to consider ourselves dismissed.
Oh no, I enjoyed it. It's like, how's everybody? So everybody.
That's good.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you for
How'd you go?
the thought. I think it's good to cut it off at 9 because I feel like non-duality anyway, you could go on and on and on. So it's good to sort of say, yeah.
How do you leave the non-duality meeting?
Leaving will happen or not.
Through the window.
Hopefully it won't.
Through the window.
Yeah, maybe.